Libra darling, what if tomorrow, everything you've been quietly hoping for, a long-awaited breakthrough, a release of financial pressure, or even a long-forgotten inheritance finally arrives without warning? That's not a fantasy. That's the energy of October 24th. And you've just stepped into a space where that message is meant just for you. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where the timing of your arrival is never an accident. This is your sacred moment, a signpost in the cosmic roadmap that you were always meant to find. If you're listening right now, it means the universe is already speaking directly to your spirit. The purpose of today's reading is simple and powerful: to reveal a financial shift that is already on its way to you, a moment of divine justice that will bring truth, resources, and clarity into your life. It's not just about money, it's about the energy of restoration. And Libra, no one understands balance, worthiness, or divine timing quite like you. Your sign has walked through more quiet battles than most will ever know. You've waited with grace. You've given even when your cup was half full. And now, your time has come. Under the radiant gibbous moon in Pisces, and with Venus, your ruling planet, forming a powerful trine with Saturn, a portal opens. One that brings grounded rewards, financial growth, and emotional closure. This is the moment when long overdue blessings finally break through. Can you feel it? There's a shift, subtle but powerful, rising in your field. You may notice odd signs, dreams of someone you've lost, déjà vu, repeated numbers, strange alignments, or quiet nudges that pull you here. That's not a coincidence. That's spiritual confirmation. A maternal presence, perhaps a grandmother, a guardian, or even a divine guide, is surrounding you now, helping you make the right financial decisions and shielding you from energy that no longer serves you. You are being guided not just to receive, but to discern. But before we explore this reading more deeply, let me take a moment to thank you. Your presence here means more than I can express. Every time you like, comment, or subscribe to this channel, you're not only supporting Zodiac Whisper Tarot, you're affirming your own alignment with divine timing and soulful transformation. And I promise you this: by the end of today's video, you will not only understand what is unfolding for you, but you'll see exactly why now is your moment. So stay with me. Let the cards speak. Let your energy confirm. If something about this message already resonates with you, leave a comment below with the angel number you're connecting with right now, whether it's 111, 222, 777, or any number that's been following you. Let the universe see your readiness to receive. And tell me, what do you think guided you here today? This is more than a reading. This is your moment. Let's begin. It's easy to overlook the quiet moments when we gave, trusted, or poured ourselves into something only to be met with delay, silence, or even loss. And yet, those very moments are not forgotten by the universe. They become seeds. Not the kind that sprout overnight, but the sacred ones buried deep, watered by patience, and grown in the soil of unseen grace. What's unfolding for you now, Libra, is not just a financial surprise. It is a sacred return. A divine reply to the energy you once released with no promise of reward. When the Ace of Pentacles appears, it doesn't just speak of money or opportunity. It represents the first sign of tangible restoration, the physical form of an answered prayer. The wheel of fortune then turns that blessing into movement. It's not just a gift, it's momentum. Destiny, stirred by your past intention, is finally catching up. And the beauty is, you didn't need to chase it, you simply needed to be ready to receive it. Libra, your essence is balance. You hold space for others, often without acknowledgement. You give with elegance, but not always with reciprocation. That's why this moment is different. This is cosmic recalibration. A time when what you gave in love, time, money, or sacrifice is being divinely accounted for and returned. Whether it's an old inheritance that's finally released, a forgotten investment that suddenly matures, or a legal matter that swings unexpectedly in your favor, know this: it's not random. It's alignment. Sometimes what seems like a delay is divine protection. The things we once reached for that didn't manifest weren't rejections, they were reroutes. You're timing the version of you now is more prepared, more grounded, and more spiritually mature than the version of you who first asked for these things. And so now, when this abundance arrives, you're able to hold it without fear, without guilt, and most importantly without losing yourself in it. Let this also be a moment of gentle encouragement, to allow yourself to receive without explanation. You do not need to justify why the good is finally finding its way to you. Not to others, and not to yourself. Sometimes, the miracle isn't the money itself, it's the quiet permission to feel worthy of it. There's a story I once heard about a woman who had spent years working behind the scenes, never recognized, always consistent. When her company was bought out, her name was unexpectedly included in a forgotten equity agreement. She had long let go of any expectation, yet one day, a letter arrived. Inside was a figure she couldn't have imagined. And do you know what she did? She sat in silence and cried, not because of the money, but because it reminded her that no seed is ever truly forgotten. That is the energy surrounding you now. This moment is a mirror reflecting not just your past actions, but the deeper truth that you are being seen. By life. By destiny. By the invisible currents that record everything the heart gives. You didn't just hope, you held on. And that holding has not gone unnoticed. If your heart feels the tug of this message, pause for a moment. Breathe into it. Whisper a quiet thank you, not just to the universe, but to the version of yourself that stayed soft, stayed giving, even when life got hard. That version is the reason you're here now. And what's arriving is not just provision, it's proof. You were never forgotten. Only being prepared for something greater than you imagined. Sometimes, the most powerful guidance doesn't arrive with a loud voice or a flashing sign, it arrives in stillness. In a dream. In a sudden pause when something inside you whispers, not this. That kind of whisper, Libra, is sacred. And right now, it may be coming from a source beyond the veil, a maternal presence that still walks with you in silence. When judgment appears in a reading, especially beside the reversed Queen of Cups, it signals that a deep emotional message is surfacing. Not for fear. Not for drama. But for protection. This is the kind of energy that asks you to stop, feel, and discern. Someone who once nurtured you, perhaps a grandmother, a mother, or even a figure you never met but whose energy is bound to yours, is offering quiet direction. Not to alarm, but to redirect. To reroute you from paths that appear glittering on the outside but are hollow within. We often think of financial decisions as logic-driven. Numbers. Facts. Risks. But for someone like you, ruled by Venus, governed by balance, intuition is a legitimate compass. This influence around you, this feminine guide, is reminding you to check how things feel before you commit. Whether it's a business deal, an offer that feels too good, or a relationship that promises security but costs your peace, the message is the same. If it dulls your spirit, it's not wealth. There's also something beautiful about the timing. Late October is not just astrologically significant, it's spiritually thin. Cultures all around the world acknowledge this time Samhain, Dia de los Muertos, All Saints, where the boundary between the physical and the spiritual is at its most fragile. It's easier to hear things from the other side. Easier to feel them. That sudden memory that visits you before sleep, the song that plays at the exact moment you're doubting yourself, the presence that wraps around your chest when you're alone, these are not figments. They are invitations to listen more closely. And in the midst of this, there is no need for fear. The reversed Queen of Cups may seem like an imbalance of emotion, but here, she is a signal to come back to center. To not give your power away to emotional manipulation, especially in matters of money or trust. To return to self-regulation, emotional intelligence, and calm clarity. The woman watching over you wants you to succeed, but she also wants you to succeed without sacrificing yourself. In modern life, we rarely leave space for divine pauses. We race from task to task, from bill to burden. But what if you allowed yourself a holy interruption? A moment to say, I don't have to rush this decision. I can wait until it feels aligned. That's not indecision. That's mastery. That's living with both earthly wisdom and spiritual awareness. You may recall a time when something didn't feel right, even though everyone said it looked perfect on paper, and later, you were grateful you hesitated. That's the very guidance returning now. Not to haunt, but to help. Not to impose, but to empower. If you've had a dream of someone departed recently, or you've felt their presence in unusual ways, this is your confirmation. You're being looked after. You're being nudged in the right direction. And no matter how loud the world gets, you're allowed to trust the stillness more. In the chaos of life, subtle divine protection is the rarest and most generous gift. And you, Libra, are wrapped in it now, not because you asked, but because you're loved. Quietly. Completely. And always. Sometimes what's hidden isn't just about deception, it's about timing. The universe often waits for the right alignment before allowing truth to rise to the surface. Libra, with your deep desire for harmony and fairness, you've likely overlooked or even excused signs that something wasn't quite right. But now, the energy is shifting. The appearance of the Seven of Swords upright signals not just secrecy, but exposure. A reveal. Something or someone who has been operating in shadows, maybe a colleague, a relative, or a figure from your financial past, is about to step into the light, whether they intend to or not. This kind of unveiling can feel jarring. But what's important is that it's happening now, at a time when you're more emotionally equipped and spiritually fortified than you've ever been before. As the Sun in Scorpio forms a harmonious trine with Neptune, clarity pierces illusion. What was once clouded by charm or subtle manipulation is suddenly unmistakable. That's the power of divine timing. It doesn't just remove veils, it gives you the strength to see through them and still choose peace. Rather than reacting with anger or anxiety, you're being called to respond with awareness. To observe. To witness. Let the truth show itself without interruption, because in this phase, Libra, your greatest weapon is grace. And your greatest protection is distance. Not physical necessarily, but energetic. When you remove your emotional investment from people who thrive on confusion or control, you reclaim the part of yourself they were quietly draining. This is also an invitation to forgive yourself for missing the signs, for trusting someone who wasn't worthy of that trust, or for staying too long in a situation that no longer reflected your values. You see, holding the light doesn't mean ignoring the dark. It means refusing to let it define you. And while confrontation may be tempting, sometimes the most powerful act is letting someone feel the weight of their own choices without you rescuing, explaining, or enabling. There's a story I often reflect on: a woman who ran a small business with a close friend. For years, she noticed discrepancies, tiny red flags. But she brushed them off, prioritizing loyalty over logic. Eventually, the truth came out: money had been misused, trust had been broken. And although it hurt deeply, what followed was incredible. Once the toxic tie was severed, her business flourished. New partnerships emerged. Her income tripled within a year. Why? Because her energy was no longer entangled with deception. That's what you're being prepared for: not just clarity, but elevation. Sometimes we must see what's behind the curtain to truly step into our power. The universe doesn't reveal these things to hurt you. It reveals them to free you. You may feel disappointed, even betrayed, but this is not a setback, it's a redirection. A powerful reallocation of energy that says, your abundance doesn't have room for dishonesty. And so it clears the path. Let this moment serve as a reminder that not everyone can walk with you into your next chapter, not because you're better, but because your frequency has changed. You've done the work. You've healed, grown, prayed, and aligned. And now, anything that isn't of that vibration will naturally fall away. If you're feeling the truth of this message in your body, that inner knowing, that quiet stirring, take a breath. Trust it. Then ask yourself, what part of me already knew this, and what part of me is finally ready to let go? The answer will come, and when it does, honor it. You don't need to chase justice. It's already unfolding in your favor. There comes a point in every journey when the weight we've carried no longer serves us, not because it was wrong to carry it, but because we've outgrown it. Libra, this is that moment. With the 10 of Wands in reverse, your reading offers a sacred permission slip to release. Not just the burdens of responsibility, but also the silent pressure to hold everything together for everyone else. You've been the anchor in chaos, the harmonizer in conflict, and the silent warrior for balance. But now, it's time to step into ease, not as a luxury, but as a birthright. The astrological energy surrounding October 24th supports this release. The current planetary alignments are not just nudging you toward clarity, they are dismantling old energetic patterns that told you survival only comes through struggle. When Saturn gives structure and Venus offers value, we're reminded that abundance doesn't have to come at the expense of peace. Letting go of what's heavy does not mean you are giving up. It means you are creating space for what's truly aligned, for what flows, and for what supports your growth rather than drains it. This isn't just about financial freedom, though that's certainly on the table. It's about emotional permission. The ability to say, I no longer owe anyone an explanation for choosing myself. Maybe you've been carrying debt, literal or energetic, that was never yours to begin with. Perhaps you've remained in a partnership, business deal, or role out of loyalty, habit, or fear. And yet now, a door is opening. One that allows you to walk forward lighter, clearer, freer. There's a phrase from a spiritual mentor I deeply respect. Sometimes, the miracle isn't in what God adds to your life, it's in what He quietly removes. The burden that lifts without notice. The stress that suddenly doesn't feel so loud. The obligation that simply dissolves when you finally acknowledge, this is not mine to carry anymore. In this energy, Libra, you're not being asked to abandon your responsibilities, you're being invited to redefine them. To ask, what is truly mine? And what have I mistaken as mine because I didn't want to let anyone down? You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to hold the world steady. What you do need and what you deserve is to walk into this next season unburdened, supported, and free to focus on what nourishes your soul. The abundance that's making its way to you isn't just financial. It's energetic. It's in the form of people who reciprocate, opportunities that align, and resources that don't deplete you in the process of receiving them. Picture yourself stepping out of a heavy, weathered coat after walking through a long storm. You're not denying what you've survived, you're honoring it by finally allowing yourself to rest. To choose differently. To say, I've earned this lightness. And maybe, just maybe, the real prosperity begins not when you gain more, but when you carry less. So as you move forward from this moment, check in with your body. Your breath. Your spirit. Let them speak. Ask yourself with compassion, what burden am I still holding that I no longer need? And when the answer comes, don't resist it. Let it fall away. Let yourself rise. Because this, Libra, is the beginning of your season of ease. And the universe is ready to meet you where you're no longer forcing anything. You may notice lately that your clarity has sharpened in a way that feels different, not cold, but clear, and no longer apologizing for it. That's the energy of the Queen of Swords rising within you. In tarot, she is the embodiment of discernment, sharp intellect, and emotional maturity. And for Libra, she is your mirror. This card returning to your reading is not a coincidence. It signals that you are ready to step into a new level of alignment where decisions are no longer made to please others, but to honor yourself. Over the next few days, you may be presented with invitations, some subtle, others enticing. Perhaps it will be an offer to join a project, invest in a new idea, enroll in a program, or start something that seems promising from the outside. These moments aren't just about the opportunities themselves. They are about how you choose. The Queen of Swords doesn't choose out of fear or impulse. She pauses, evaluates, and only says yes when her body and mind are both in agreement. This is the posture you're being called to adopt now. We live in a world that often rewards speed and visibility. Get in early, scale fast, say yes quickly. But real wisdom, especially the kind that brings lasting prosperity, is built on patience and inner alignment. Just because a path is popular or urgent doesn't mean it's yours. And just because others are walking through a door doesn't mean you were meant to follow. In fact, some of the most abundant roads are the ones quietly waiting off the beaten path, the ones only visible to those who are willing to say no to the noise. This moment invites you to activate your inner compass. Not the one fueled by external validation, but the quieter one, the one that knows when something feels off, even if it looks impressive. The one that nudges you toward what feels peaceful, not performative. One of the deepest forms of self-trust is the ability to decline something that doesn't sit right, even when you can't fully explain why. Libra, you've spent enough time second-guessing your intuition. Now is the season to let it lead. There's also a connection here to how you manage your energy around money. You might find yourself drawn to building a new income stream, returning to a creative idea you once paused, or investing in your own development through a class or mentorship. If it energizes you and aligns with your long-term vision, that's your cue. But if it feels forced, draining, or rooted in comparison, that's your signal to step back. Prosperity that costs your peace isn't true prosperity. There's a woman I once knew who turned down 3 high-paying job offers in 1 week. People thought she was being unreasonable. But deep down, she knew none of them aligned with her values. 1 month later, she launched her own service, something small, quiet, and from the heart. It took off faster than she expected. Not because she had more skills, but because she waited until her yes was true. That's what this queen asks of you now. So when you're met with decisions in the coming days, pause. Don't ask, is this a good opportunity? Ask instead, is this good for me? There's a difference. And you, Libra, are finally ready to honor that difference without needing anyone else to agree. This isn't just about strategy. It's about self-respect. The kind that allows abundance to flow in ways that feel clean, expansive, and right. You don't need to chase every open door. You just need to walk through the one that opens with ease and peace when you stand in front of it. Libra, as we reach the end of this journey together, take a moment to sit quietly with everything you've just received. Let the messages settle not just in your mind, but in your spirit. This reading wasn't here to simply entertain you, it was here to remind you of what you already know deep down. You are ready. Ready to stop carrying the weight of everyone's expectations. Ready to stop questioning whether you've done enough. Ready to stop waiting for someone else to validate what your soul has already confirmed. The truth is, the door to abundance was never locked, it just required you to believe you were worthy of walking through it. And now, Libra, you finally do. What's coming is more than just money, more than a material blessing. It is the realignment of divine justice. It is the sacred whisper of the universe saying, well done. You stayed true. Now here's what you were always meant to receive. You no longer need to compromise your peace to feel productive. You don't have to overgive just to feel valuable. You can build your future from a place of balance, and still rise financially, emotionally, spiritually. This is the new chapter, one where you no longer overextend yourself to fit the mold others set for you. You are not here to carry everyone else's weight. You are here to honor your own path. And in doing so, you teach others that they can too. So I invite you to reflect. What part of this reading resonated most deeply with you? Was it the message of financial restoration? The reminder of unseen protection? The clarity that certain people or situations no longer belong in your next season? Take a breath and consider, if you were to act on just one piece of guidance today, what would shift? What would open up? What would finally feel like relief? Let this not be a passive message, but an activation. Comment below and share your angel number, whether it's 111, 444, 888, or one that's been showing up just for you. Speak it out loud into this space and let the energy respond. And if your heart has ever held a story of receiving an unexpected blessing, a divine financial turn, a sudden opportunity, a miracle wrapped in everyday life, share that too. You never know whose hope your words might restore. And if you feel something move within you right now, that tug, that spark, that quiet knowing, don't ignore it. That's your higher self rising. That's your alignment. That's your next chapter beginning. Before we part, I want to thank you, truly, for being here. For choosing to show up for your growth. Every like, every comment, every subscription is not just a support for this channel, it's an energetic declaration that you are part of something deeper, something collective, something sacred. Your presence fuels this sanctuary we're building here at Zodiac Whisper Tarot, a space of healing, truth, and cosmic alignment. If this message touched you, I would be honored if you liked this video, subscribed to the channel, and shared it with someone who may need to hear these words today. Because what we anchor together in this space has the power to ripple out far beyond what we can see. And Libra, your moment is now. You're not waiting anymore. You're walking through the door. And abundance is on the other side. Stay until the last minute of your miracle because it's already in motion.